AT&T Stadium open. Kyle Yeomans now joins the Blitz, and it was a big week as far as we had league meetings earlier this week in Minneapolis. There was a lot of speculation, some rules changes that didn't happen, some rules changes that did happen. You're going to break it down for us here.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of different things that could have happened. This was the one that really did happen. There's a couple of tweaks on the onside kick rules to note. However, the biggest one is instead of it only being allowed for a team trailing in the fourth quarter, now they can go at any time and declare the onside kick. Remember, with the new dynamic kickoff rules, you can't just have a surprise onside kick. That was a rule that was implemented last year into the NFL. But now any team that is trailing at any point in the game can make that declaration and say, we are going to attempt an onside kick. And then to try and increase from a 6% success rate last season in the NFL, the league wants to have the kicking team lining up 1 yard closer than it would have in the past. So instead of that 35-yard line, now they move on and they move up into about the 36-yard line in order to have that head start. They still have to be engaged with the 35-yard line. So all it is just an extra step, an extra opportunity to look forward and to try and get to that football before anybody else would. We've seen some incredible onside kicks in the past with Brandon Aubrey and the watermelon kick. That was Greg Zuerlein a couple years back. I mean, the Cowboys franchise has seen some incredible onside kicks, but they didn't have one that worked in their favor last season, at least from a kicking team standpoint. So it'll be interesting to see just how much that percentage of 6% will rise with these changes, but it is going to give a kicking team an opportunity to possibly have some more success in 2025. All
right, one that did not get banned from the league was the tush push.
It was close, though.
Yes, it was. They 22-10.
24 votes is what they needed in order to make it happen. 24 votes to overturn it. That's 3/4 of the league, 75% to overturn the vote. The Cowboys were one of the teams, including with the other 3 NFC East teams, the Commanders and the Giants, to vote against it. Of course, there was one team in the NFC East that did not vote for the tush push ban, and that was the Philadelphia Eagles, of course, the team that has had the majority of the success with the tush push. But they fell 2 votes short. Philadelphia and any other team that feels comfortable running the tush push QB sneak sort of style, they'll be able to do that coming up this next year. It was interesting just how much of a push there was to ban it from some of the coaches within the league. They had 16 votes in their initial voting earlier this week. That increased to 22, but they still fell 2 votes short.
All right, and then the other thing that did not get to a vote, there was a lot of speculation about, was playoff seeding.
Yeah, that was actually a vote that never happened because the Detroit Lions were the team that presented this to the league. Of course, the current playoff seeding includes the top division winners, all 4 division winners getting the top 4 seeds in each of the respective conferences, the NFC and the AFC. The Lions were proposing that it was just by seeding and just by record across the board. So even if you weren't a division champion, you would still have a shot at a top 4 seed, hopefully giving more competition and less resting for certain players in the final weekends of the regular season. So once they presented that, it looked like there was a chance for it to pass, but then they withdrew their proposal prior to the voting, never actually got a shot at it. Doesn't mean that rule could change in future owners' meetings, maybe as soon as next year if another team wants to bring it to the table. However, it is not going to happen this year, and the playoff seeding will remain the same for the 2025 season.
All right, so that brings you up to speed on what did and did not happen at the league meetings this past week. Kyle Yeomans, we appreciate it. And up next here on the Blitz, how about we head into the quarterback room for the Cowboys? Yes, Dak back on the field, but who's QB2 on this team?
This segment was brought to you by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Dallas Cowboys.
much can you do?
Pretty much can do it all. Feel good. Yeah, I think I'm just not cleared for contact, which we've got a while for that anyway. So, yeah, I'm out there and the team activities feel good. Just trying to obviously stay that way. Yeah, feeling great.
I would say there's a little ways before contact is permitted for the quarterbacks. But here is the quarterback depth chart right now. 3 quarterbacks on this team. You got Dak Prescott. You got 25-year-old Joe Milton, acquired in the offseason, of course. And you've got 30-year-old Will Grier. So welcome you back here to the Blitz. Bill Jones and Nicole Hutchison. Let's start at the top of the depth chart. It's very important, obviously, for your number 1 quarterback to be healthy throughout the season. That's the goal for Dak Prescott. He looks great out on the field, as we've talked about earlier in the show, but how important is it, you think, for Dak, from his own mindset, to be out here working with them, and how much pressure is on him to have a bounce-back season after missing much of last season, too?
Well, it's crucial that he's here to get that extra time to build that chemistry, like we mentioned earlier in the show, with these different receivers, especially with a guy like George Pickens, who just came not even a couple of weeks ago. But the pressure is on. I mean, more so for him, right? Because, I mean, the question of course was, can he lead this team to a winning season? Well, he did that in three straight seasons with 12 wins. Another question was, can he have one of the greatest arms of Cowboys history? Well, he's 3rd on the all-time passing list behind Romo and Aikman, so that question is no question there. But the real one is, can he stay healthy? He's missed a lot of time because of injuries, and can he lead this team to a title? He's got some of the pieces. Now, can those pieces around him help him get there? Because we have to remember that it's not just all Dak Prescott here. The pieces have to help him around him. So hopefully he does live up to that standard.
And of course, in 2023, he finished 2nd in the MVP voting in the league, too. So don't forget that. All right, as far as quarterback 2 goes, you got Joe Milton out here. You got Will Grier. It's been 6 years since the 30-year-old Will Grier started 2 games for the Carolina Panthers. Milton started 1 game, the last game of the season for the Patriots last year. I'm thinking it's going to be Milton's job, but obviously Brian Schottenheimer really likes Will Grier, too.
Absolutely. I think he likes both of these guys, and of course the battle will continue until probably the end of preseason, of course, but we know what Will Grier can do. He left in 2023 and came back in 2024 and pretty much did what he could do, but I mean, I feel like now it's more of Joe Milton's time, right? They saw him in Week 18 do what he did for the Patriots, had some mobility, also had a nice arm as well. We've seen that in practice. He had some nice throws in earlier this week's practice as well that we were able to see, but Shotty had said that one thing that stuck to me was his work ethic is incredible. He also said that he's always the first person in the building and one of the last to lead. He's attacking the playbook and picking things up very well. And also Dak Prescott's taken him under his wing. So that can also play a huge role in how well Joe Milton comes out and performs and Will Grier comes out and performs. But, I mean, obviously both of those guys are putting in the work for sure.
All right, we'll wrap up the Blitz when we come back in just a moment. History made on the flag football field at the Star in Frisco this week, and as far as the Olympics are concerned.
Closed captioning is brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Dallas Cowboys scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery are here. Play today. To watch more Dallas Cowboys content on your connected TV, download the Cowboys Now app on Amazon Fire, Roku, and Apple TV. The Dallas Cowboys Blitz, presented by Blockchain.com, was brought to you by AT&T, an official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys, and by Blockchain.com. Invest like your icons with Blockchain.com.
History was made back on Monday night at the Star in Frisco. Arlington Martin crowned the first ever girls flag football champion. What a great spring season we had out here. Nicole Hutchison, you were there.
I was. A lot of fun to watch these ladies hold the trophy in the end. Head coach Patrick Dunn there told me they didn't have a team 6 weeks ago, but he was always confident they would be holding that trophy, and look at them now holding up the trophy for the first time in their program's history.
You know, in flag football, the fastest growing sport, not only in Texas, but across the country. The NFL obviously is behind it, as evidenced this past week at the league meetings. What do the owners approve? Well, players can play in flag football in the Olympics, new sport in the Olympics, of course, in LA in 2028.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, some players may want to use it just to, of course, compete for their country, but some players may want to not risk the injury right before the season. So I think it's cool to have and be able to watch for the Olympics, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a lot of interesting.
See, there's not going to be a whole lot of NFL players that are going to be playing flag football, and even though they approved it, I'm thinking there's a lot of owners who don't really like the idea of in August, when training camp is going on, they've got players playing flag football. But we'll see. All right, for Nicole Hutchison and Kyle Yeomans, I'm Bill Jones. Thanks for joining us for the Blitz. We'll see you again next week.
Let's move to Nick Chubb. Add Chad Ochocinco, a.k.a. /Chad Johnson. Whatever nickname he was going by over the years. Always loved him for the Bengals. Very fun player. He is now among the list of players, former players, media, fans advocating for Nick Chubb to the Cowboys. Not the first time we've heard of this. Probably won't continue to hear about it until he gets signed somewhere. The best version of Nick Chubb as a pure runner, because he wasn't a superstar third down back, not bad, but as a pure runner, he was up there with anybody in football. He was awesome. He would average 5+ yards per carry on massive workloads, which you just don't normally see in the NFL because efficiency tends to drop with volume increasing. He was not good last year, though. The 3.3 yards per carry, does that actually move the needle? Like, if you get the 2024 version of Nick Chubb, does that move the needle? I think finding a needle mover in this running back room and another one would be great. You know, maybe that's Javonte Williams. Maybe that's Miles Sanders. You know, Jaden Blue offers explosive, but he was also a 5th-round pick. You know, Deuce Vaughn, Phil Maffa are late-round picks. So could Nick Chubb be that guy for you? I have thoughts. I want to hear from you guys first. Would you sign Nick Chubb? S for sign, P for pass. Sound off in the comment section of today's show. I understand the allure of potentially signing Nick Chubb to the Cowboys roster. At his best, he was one of the best running backs in the NFL. There were very few that were better than him as a pure runner. But that was then. This is now. He's entering his age 30 season, coming off another injury. And when he came back from last year's injury, he didn't look very good. He is a physical freak, but there does come a wall for all NFL players. Chubb averaged 3.3 yards per carry last season. Compared to Jerome Ford, who I don't think is that great, that's just bad. There's nowhere, it was bad. It was bad. We have to acknowledge that. Now, if you still want to sign him, okay, I get it. But it's with zero promises of anything. I'm not guaranteeing him a bunch of money. I'm not promising him a roster spot. He has to earn it. And if he does, sweet. Because then you're actually in that low-risk, high-reward territory. Because if it's bad, you just cut him, you move on, you kind of Dalvin Cook him, so to speak, right? Otherwise, if you're promising big money and promising playing time, then you're kind of in that Zeke reunion territory. And that's not a spot I want to be, because I don't think that's a fun spot to be.